Alright, so look at that rocker. Now this video is sponsored by Yeswelder. They're the ones who sent me the welder and the new helmet so that I could do this job. We're only going to go over the flux core welding, but this welder does so much more. If you're interested in the full review of this welder, there will be a link in the description, and if you want the welder or the helmet, there will be links for those as well. Definitely check those out. See, it's rusty right there, but the rest of it's pretty solid. So we're just going to cut around the rust. We'll go up a little bit. The rest of the car is in really good shape. There's really not any rot anywhere else. It's just on these rockers, and you know, there's minimal drain holes, or the drains need to be drained out every once in a while, and just no one ever did. So I'll just make this look good again. Yeah, even over here, the metal there is good. I'm just gonna cut it back a little bit. Alright. That looks pretty good. Curve this. Now we just gotta bend this. So this is what I'm using here, 22 gauge weldable steel. We're gonna line that line up right there and go to the end. Make sure that's lined up right there. All right, I'll just fold it over. That over. That's going to be the lip that goes at the base. And then this has got a curve. So we want to put a curve into this. So that goes right there. We can trim that after. It doesn't have to be the whole length. And then we'll just curve this piece up. Just take this. And just curve this just by hand. More of a curve into it. Looks pretty good. That. Just curve this up. Pretty close. Bang this down a little bit. I'm just going to disconnect the battery just so I don't fry any of the computers. So we're going to put our patch right over there. That little bit of rust inside there, that's just surface rust. That's not going to go anywhere. We don't have to worry about that. Actually, a funny story I will tell you at the end of the video about the rust. So. Taping this up just so it doesn't burn anything there. Power switch on the back there. You can see how this is. So you can crank that up. Oops. Alright, so that's working pretty good. Just went about every other inch. And then went back and just try to just do little tack welds And I only burned a couple areas, which isn't bad. So the weld's on 144 right now, which seems to be a good balance for me right now. Give that a try. All right, so far so good. I like it. It works really well. It seems like you got to play around with the settings a little bit, just to find your sweet spot. And especially welding thinner metal, it's a little bit tricky to not burn holes. So I was able to get that. And just got to do a little bit more, just fill in some of the gaps before I grind this down, but it's looking good so far. Alright, so that came out pretty good. Obviously I'm going to grind this down because we're not going to put any fiberglass or body filler right on top of that. It's going to be raised up too much, so we'll grind that down. But I'm very impressed with this welder. It's very smooth. I really like it, so definitely check out the Yeswelder if you're looking for a nice budget welder. Definitely worked good, and I put that other panel in as well. So for doing the tack welds, I did crank it up to about 200. That made it a little easier, and it wasn't burning through, so that came out good. See where there's a couple little holes. You're gonna want to go back and fill in those holes. I'm not filling in those holes. Overall, looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna use some body filler. We're gonna start with fiberglass filler just to make everything strong. If there's any high spots, you want to just tap those down with a hammer. All right, I got some fiberglass body filler. Just gotta mix it together. Alright, so in all that areas. Try to make it as smooth as possible so you don't have to do too much sanding. With this, I'm mostly going where the welds are. Just push it deep in there. Try to smooth it out before it hardens up. Alright, we'll let that dry a little bit. Come back, sand it down, put some body filler over it. Alright, that's dried. Now we're just gonna sand it. You don't want to wait till it gets too dry, otherwise it's really hard to sand. You don't want it tacky, but just using 60 grit sandpaper. Alright, so here's a trick I saw on another YouTube channel. Just take a fan, set it up so it's blowing the dust away from you, so you're not breathing it in. That works really well. So I sanded that down. I did use a DA just to smooth it out a little bit, and I just put another coat of the fiberglass filler. It was a little thin right there. Now I'm just going to use some of this body filler. This is a little more forgiving, It's a little easier to work with than the fiberglass. This is just gonna fill in any of the little like holes and stuff in the areas that are a little low. Just mix this up. Looks good. I think I need a new squeegee. Oops. I sanded it by hand, and now I'm just going to use the DA. I actually love using the DA. I think it works really well. I still got the fan going. Alright, it looks pretty good. Now the more time you spend on it, the better the results are going to be. We get a little bit of small little areas where might have been some air bubbles in the filler, so you could go back and fill those in, but it looks pretty good compared to where we were. So we're gonna prime this and paint it. You could even use some filler primer probably to take up some of those little holes. That'd be good. But again, it's all in how much time you spend, how good you want it to look in the end. This is just for state inspection. It's not a big deal. It's not a show car or anything like that. So we're just trying to make it pass inspection and look a little better. And obviously you can wet sand it if you want to. The DA brings it down pretty smooth, so I'm happy with that. Looks pretty good. I don't have the exact yellow. I'm just using a Scotch-Brite pad to take some of the overspray right here. But I do have a yellow. And yellow is better than primer. Yeah, we definitely got to get the right color. It's not quite the same yellow. I mean, the car needs to be washed also, but either way, it looks pretty good. Looks better than it did with rusty holes in it. So depending on how much time and effort you put into it is how good the results are going to come out. I don't think this came out too bad. Again, this is just for a state inspection, just so that we can get by. And the car's realistically a 2 to 5 year car. It's nothing crazy. This is a 2001 Volkswagen Beetle. We're not trying to restore it, we're just trying to make it better, and I think we did a good job. Definitely check out that welder, that Yeswelder. Thank you for sending me that, and the helmet. Those work great. I definitely like those. Check out the link for the review video on that, and if you want one of those welders, check out the link in the description. All right, thanks. So I told you I'd tell you about the rust at the end of the video. When I was making a video at work and I did the same thing talking about the rust, everybody had a comment about the rust, explaining that you should have gone in there with a wire brush and cleaned that up and sprayed it with some primer or other paint or something, or undercoating or something. But the rust isn't going to go anywhere. Realistically, this car is only going to last a couple years, so it's not going to matter. So don't worry about the rust. But check the comments, see how many people complain about the fact that I left the rust on the inside. It's pretty funny. There's a little rust converting primer. There you go, if that makes you feel better. But it's not going to do anything. If anything, it's probably just going to catch on fire when I go to weld it. Now I'm going to waste time and let that dry before I start welding. Yeah, I guess it's turning the rust into black primer.